Well, hello everyone. This is Kim Anderson, and I am here in conjunction with the Founding Project to continue our ongoing online civics lessons. We like to call it Kim in all caps, but civics for all ages. And we are really getting into the nitty gritty of our lessons that we're doing as far as our civics lessons. We are starting to get into today's title is called The Introduction to Constitutional Government. And we're really starting to let the rubber meet the road as we begin to understand what it means to be governed by a constitution. And so I'm really excited about where we're going to be heading in the next couple of videos. This video included, I want you, in preparation for the next couple of videos, is to get yourself a pocket constitution, or get yourself, go online and find the Constitution, because in the next couple of videos, we're actually going to be breaking down the articles one by one that are in the Constitution. And so today's video, I was debating whether to break this video up or to share it in one, because this is really, when I say we're getting into the nitty gritty of how we're governed and what we do, just because of there's so much stuff that's happening right now in our world, in our country, and it's the historical perspective that we're sharing about how it was intended to be created, and what we see happening now may not always be congruent. However, the more that we can sort of establish and get back in touch with our foundation, the stronger I believe we're going to be as a country. And so this lesson is going to sort of delve into the role of a constitution, how our constitution, as Americans, what separates our constitution from the constitution of other countries. And so these are key ingredients to what makes a free people in a free country. And so there's some very, very unique things about our Constitution that, of course, makes it stand out head and shoulders above everybody else's Constitution out there in the rest of the world. And so my notes are a little bit off camera. They're right over there. So if you see me going that way, that's what I'm looking at. I really want to make sure that this lesson delves us into the deeper discussions of the videos that are coming up. So I'm really, really excited. Glad to be able to be here with the Founding Projects. And of course, you guys know what the caps mean. I got to get some more caps, people. So let's get rolling. Let's get going. What I want you to understand, what we want to dive in and deal with first, is that constitutions in and of themselves do not guarantee the success of a nation. Lots of countries, sorry, I got an itch. Lots of countries have what they call a constitution, but they're lacking a few key ingredients. And one of those ingredients might be the fact that it simply outlines the government that they may already have existing. So let's say that there's a dictatorship somewhere, and they say, oh, we have a constitution, but the constitution just may say we have this one person who's the supreme leader of the land, and therefore that's our constitution. It has no meat. It does not protect the citizens of that country from their government. Can I just put it in those simple terms? I don't want to move the camera, but I may have to just a little bit. Okay. It's the unique balance of government power and the rights of the citizens that get blended together, that have been blended together, that make the United States Constitution the supreme law of the land and the supreme constitution of other countries. Because what our founding fathers wanted was that balance. They wanted the balance of a document that not only laid out the structure of government, but also protected the individual rights of the citizenry. And that is such a very unique thing, because not all governments are established to care about the individual citizens. They just want what's good for everyone to rule, what they think is good for everyone, and they want that to rule. They don't really care about the citizenry or the individual. And like I said before, we really have the state of Massachusetts to thank for that, because they insisted that this Constitution not only include the outline of government, which we're going to be talking about those 3 articles in the next couple of videos, but what they wanted, I'm just making sure my connection is still strong, which says it is, so we're going to keep going. But they were just as adamant about that Bill of Rights being established and placed in the Constitution. And so we understand that in other countries, the Constitution, their constitutions may not be viewed as the law of the land as our Constitution is here. But one of the things that our Constitution does do is that it establishes not only government, but it limits the ability of that government to infringe upon the rights of the citizens. I'm just reading that straight out of our notes. And so I'm going to keep going. Hang on. I'm getting there. And there's I got to bring it over here so I can keep talking to you. Okay. Like I said, some nations even now have constitutions. Britain, World War II, post-World War II, Germany, Japan and us, the United States, are examples of countries that have a limited government, because our Constitution was supposed to limit the role of the federal government, not give it unbridled authority and control over the citizens, but to limit it, keep it within a framework, and let individual rights and states' rights and local rights be established for the citizenry. But what's interesting now that sort of happened is that those countries in Europe have all sort of combined with the EU. And that's a whole nother different dynamic as far as a constitution. I don't think the United States would ever become part of a European Union that way, or a North American Union in that regard, and sort of give up its sovereignty to other countries. I don't think we would do that. So moving on, hang on with me. So the purposes of a good constitution is that, one, it would actually set forth the actual structure of government, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit later, the duties and responsibilities of each branch of government. We're going to definitely be talking about that later, and how they provide guidelines by which the powers of government are limited, and they establish the rights of citizens to protect those individual rights while at the same time looking out for the common good of the citizens. And so that's what some of the key facets of our Constitution uphold. Here's another good point that I want to make, is that part of the reason that our Constitution is unique is that it requires a constant vigilance of an informed citizen. That's us. We have to know what the Constitution says. Please keep recording. Please keep recording. Okay, there we go. We have to know what the Constitution says, the informed citizenry, and the respect and allegiance of the principles of the Constitution by those in authority. That means we know what's going on. We know what our rights are. We know what the government was established and created to do as citizens. And those people that we allow to be our representatives also respect that authority and follow the spirit of the laws that were set up and established in the Constitution. Meaning they don't abuse it. They don't use it for their own gain. They are there to serve we the people. That's how this thing was initially set up to be. Now, like I said, I understand that some of what's going on in our world and in our country may not be reflecting that right now, which is why it's so important that we're doing these videos so that we can share them. And so it's really been important that our Constitution has endured. It's been tried. It's been tested. You know, we've had the Civil War. We've had things that have tested the mettle of our Constitution. And even though things might be crazy as we look out right now in 2018 when this video is being recorded, let me tell you something. Our Constitution is going to still stand the test of time. We're not going to let it just simply fall away and just become nothing. Oh, no, no, no. There's a citizenry that's going to be enlightened. And thankfully, because of some of these videos that you're going to be sharing with them to help them understand their rights and their responsibilities as an American citizen. It's no small thing. And so our founding fathers, when they wrote the Constitution, they were impressed by several key factors. First of all, we know and we understand how they felt about the monarchy. My God, have we talked about that? They by no means wanted to have anything to do with a monarchy coming to this country. Oh my gosh, they were very, very clear about that. So because of that, they knew, one, that the power that was vested in the government was actually a power that was given by the people. The people empowered the government, not the government empowering the people. The people empowered the government. And they were very clear on that. That's we, the people. We, us, we empower the government. We give our authority to our representatives to represent us. Not for them to go do whatever they want, but for them to be our representatives. That's very important. The next thing that the founding fathers believed was that it was necessary for it to be written down. And they wanted the Constitution to clearly establish the departments of government, and in that Constitution to provide a pattern for each to act within the framework of their responsibility. That meant that they didn't want the legislative branch trying to do what the executive branch could do, and they didn't want the executive branch to trying to be legislating or calling, balls and strikes on constitutionality like the Supreme Court. Each branch had its own set of responsibilities that they should and could be held accountable for. Third, the framers wanted this document to be the supreme law of the land. Like, this is it, bam. Everything, every issue refers back to the Constitution, and that is how we move forward. So we had the people actually give power to the government. They wanted it to be written down. They wanted, and in writing it down, they wanted to the separation of powers of each branch of government to be clear. And third, they wanted this document to be, our document to be the supreme law of the land. And they also wanted, as a general rule, that the majority should prevail, but they were equally as concerned that the rights and views of the minority should be protected. And finally, the delegates to the Constitutional Convention created a document that established the principle of federalism. And what that means is that principle expands upon the idea of the division of powers, one, and in it, it identifies certain powers that are granted to the federal government. That's one. I'm sorry, it's a little windy out here. And that there are powers granted to the states. That's very important. And additionally, that there are powers shared by both the state and the federal government. And so as a result, they were able to provide such a unique framework that respected both classical liberalism, which we've talked about, which states the rights of the individual should be protected, and classical republicanism, which emphasizes the importance of civic virtue and common good. I was just reading that straight because I didn't want to miss those points. So we've had classic liberalism, which says that the individual's rights must be respected, as well as classic republicanism, which says, but what do we do for the common good, for the good of all? And so our Constitution was such a unique document that it combined both of those beliefs and standards and created what then became known as federalism. And so, guys, I think for now, I just wanted to give you those nuggets for today. But here's what's going to be happening on the next couple of videos. And I'm super, super pumped about it. We are literally going to be reading and going over the articles in our Constitution. Article 1 established Congress. Article 2 established the presidency, and Article 3 established the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about and read each of those articles, and we're going to be doing a video about each of them as we move forward into this lesson. It's going to be amazing. You're going to want to share this information with your family and friends, because we got to know. I mean, knowledge is power. Knowledge is understanding. It's going to help us delineate what's going on in our country right now. It's going to help us be clear about our correct course corrections and understandings about what's going on right now. So I'm really super pumped about that. So we're going to be doing that. Let's see what else is coming up in our lessons. After we do those series of videos, we're going to be talking about the preamble. I love the preamble. Those of us that grew up a little bit earlier, we had Schoolhouse Rock and it taught us all about the preamble. But we're going to be talking about that. The separation of powers, checks and balances. We're going to dive deeper into that. And let's see, what else do we have? And then we're going to talk about amendments, how amendments to our Constitution get established. So lots coming up, lots going on out there. But I'm glad you've stuck with us. Glad you've stuck with the Founding Project, because I see now more than ever that when we started this journey over a year ago, didn't quite understand why we needed to be doing some of these civics lessons. But as the days have gone on, I personally have begun to see the importance of getting these videos down, sharing them, helping people understand the role that they play in our American citizenry, and why it's so important, why it's so special, how it almost never even happened. It's still so miraculous that we're a country. I'm telling you. We're the grand experiment. Like no one else has been able to duplicate America. No one. They might have tried. They might have thought, well, we don't need to duplicate America. We can do what we want to do, and that's fine too. But we are that shining light on the hill. So anyway, so get your pocket constitutions, follow along with us in these next couple of videos, and share. Join the Founding Project on Facebook. Follow us. It's going to be an amazing, amazing ride. You guys are going to be so glad you did. So this is Kim Anderson. Keep sending me your caps. And I'm just thrilled, honored actually, to be able to share these civics lessons with you. Civics for all ages. Kim Anderson. I believe I'm over and out for now, but I'll be back talking to you real soon. God bless. Bye-bye.